What's going on, YouTube? If you've been paying any attention to the sports world recently, you know that right now is the FIFA World Cup. And in honor of the biggest sporting event on the planet, I'm going a little out of my element and making a soccer video. Today, I'll be combining my channel's dark theme with soccer for the very first time to bring you guys the darkest story in World Cup history. I hope you enjoy. This story begins, surprisingly enough, with the drug cartel. Through the 80s and 90s, cocaine was blowing up in America, and one country was mainly responsible for that. Colombia was pumping out more of the white stuff than anywhere else on the planet. You may even recognize the name Pablo Escobar, who was in his prime of hauling drugs and making money, and was the leader behind the charge of drugs in Colombia. Fast forward to the 1994 World Cup. Hosted in the United States, the whole world comes together to compete. This World Cup comes just a year after Colombian drug lord Pablo Escobar was murdered, but it does not stop Colombia from showing up ready to play. And as fate may have it, Colombia and the US were put into the same group. As the 17 seed, Colombia had the advantage on the 23 seed United States. Romania and Switzerland filled out the rest of the bracket, who were both seated higher. Now, even with Pablo Escobar dead, the cartel still ran things in Colombia. And the cartel had a ton of money riding on Colombia in this World Cup. You see, in the first group stage, 3 out of the 4 teams will advance, while 1 is eliminated. And with the US in their group, Colombia was confident that they would not be getting eliminated. So, the cartel bet untold amounts of money on Colombia to advance to the group stage. Let's see how that went. Day 1 saw the United States take on Switzerland, and Colombia take on Romania. In the US game, Switzerland was the clear favorite to take the match. This US team had not won a World Cup game since 1950 at this point, 44 years ago. But the game was even throughout as both teams showed up and tied 1-1. On the other side of things though, Romania and Colombia had both made long World Cup runs just 4 years earlier. But today, it was all Romania. Florin Raduciu, I'm so sorry, scored his second goal of the match in the 89th minute to ice a 3-1 victory for Romania. As the only team to lose in the group, Colombia was in big trouble. But luckily for them, their next game was against the US, a team they've had their way with in the past. This brings us to day 2. With the US vs Colombia showdown, Romania and Switzerland clashed on the other end. The two heavyweights played evenly through one half until Switzerland unleashed a quick barrage of goals and took the match 4-1. But on the other side of the group, chaos would begin to ensue. In Rose Bowl, Pasadena, the US and Colombia game kicked off. A must-win for Colombia, they would be facing elimination with a second loss, as no other team was 0-2. The US, on the other hand, was looking to secure their bid to the next stage. A draw gave them a good shot in advancing, and a win guaranteed it. Apart from soccer though, this match represented something bigger. For years, Colombians had been chased down and accused by US officials for bringing drugs into our country. And for their part, Colombia had tried to help aid the US in the war on drugs. But in retrospect, it never really worked out too well. Colombian mafia was the ones who ran the drug cartel, and they had a lot of power in the country itself. They were perceived as pure criminals, adding to their animosity towards the US. So knowing all the background and everything that fed into it, here we are. Untold amounts of money from the Colombian mafia riding on their team to defeat the US. Dangerous people, confident that their country wouldn't lose a game against people who called it soccer instead of football. Both teams got out slow in the start. As halftime lurked, neither had put up a goal yet. But the US had time for another attack. Getting the ball down the field, the US men applied pressure. And with a numbers advantage, they sent a dangerous cross pass floating through the box, out for the taking. And this is where we meet our main character. This is Andres Escobar, a defender for the Colombian national team. He's one of the team's best players. Escobar had experience in the 1990 World Cup, as well as multiple Copa Americas. Fans looked up to his professional, strong standards, and he was an instant favorite. In this moment, though, Escobar would make an honest mistake that would end his fight and tarnish the image of Colombia all in one. With the ball passing through a dangerous zone, Escobar tried to get it out of there however he could. But when he redirected the ball right in front of the net, it threw off his goalkeeper and squeaked through the posts, scoring an own goal. The US went up 1-0 and never lost the lead again, winning 2-1 and destroying the hearts of Colombia. Andres Escobar's own goal had been a huge reason that the Colombian team would be sent home early. But it wasn't his mistake that sent the country's reputation spiraling. It was what came of it. On day 3, Colombia beat Switzerland, but it didn't matter anymore. Their World Cup was over, and thus countless money had been dumped down the drain by the Colombian mafia. The Colombian team flew back home and began going about their normal lives. Escobar, embarrassed and healing, was almost scared to show his face outside. Just 5 days after their elimination, on the night of July 1st, 1994, Andres Escobar and some friends went out. They stopped at a liquor store before entering a club and splitting up. Somewhere around 3 in the morning, Escobar made his way to the club parking lot where he found his car. He got in his car and sat down, giving himself a moment to breathe. As he regained himself, 3 men appeared alongside his car, almost like they were looking for him. They instantly recognized him and began berating him for his own goal a few days before. Andres, always a stand-up guy, reasoned with them that it was an honest accident. But that wasn't enough. 2 of the men pulled pistols on him, flipping the situation. 1 gunman opened fire on Andres Escobar, hitting him 6 times. The killer yelled "goal" after every shot and deliberately let out 6 shots to match the 6 times the football announcer said "goal" after Escobar's own goal. The 3 men fled the scene and left Escobar to die. Andres Escobar would succumb to his gunshot wounds and pass away. The murder shed a dark light on Colombia, reaffirming their country's horrible reputation. Destroyed the very integrity that Andres Escobar fought so hard to keep. So as you guys can see, this guy was literally killed for scoring an own goal. It boils down to no more than that. Every time the Colombian team stepped on the field under mafia control, they were risking their lives, and it's terrible. Now, these guys were caught, and they arrested the shooter and everything, but it's still insane. Like, they murdered him over a sport. He was killed over a soccer game. It's wild. Escobar's murder sent shockwaves through the country and the world. It served as somewhat of a wake-up call to the terrible things going on in Colombia. The mafia rule was seen clear as day through the case of Escobar's killer. Police put together a good investigation and found the shooter, placing him under arrest. However, the jail belonged to mafia, and once in there, any morality was gone. Serving a sentence of 43 years, this murderer was released after just 11 years for, quote, good behavior. A man who killed a person, a national sports star, in cold blood, and only 11 years. A premeditated murder in an all but overthrown nation was hardly a crime. Thankfully, Colombia's been able to turn things around in the last few decades, and though not there yet, they are well on their way to being a safe, fair country. But these advancements do not excuse or remove the ugly stain of Andres Escobar's killing from the country's history. So that's all. Quite a wild ride, guys. It's pretty insane to think somebody was killed for playing bad in a sport. As I said in the intro, guys, this video is definitely out of my usual base of knowledge. So let me know how you guys liked it. I'm hoping we can pull in some soccer fans to our little sports community we're building here. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed the video and have a great day.